from statistics, it would appear breast cancer is pretty prevalent.
Yeah.
It looks like one of the leading cancers, if I would call it that
Yeah.
way. And I just wonder, now that it's something that can be checked in good time and EDC, how do we then begin to manage and cope with this?
In the UK, where they do screening actively,
Yep.
More than 80% of the women who are diagnosed have more than 10 years.
Right.
So more than 10 years could mean 10, 20, 30 years.
So it's no longer a death sentence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're cured,
Yep.
basically.
Yeah.
Whereas in Kenya, it's stage 3 or 4, which means that you're not, for stage 4, you're not talking of a cure anymore.
Right.
Now, the only way to get to stage 1 or 2, or more cases being detected, is by screening.
Right.
The government doesn't have a program for screening. Mammograms are expensive.
Yeah.
So I guess my advice to women would be try and save and do a mammogram once a year, once in 2 years,
Right.
but more importantly, the self-examination, because that's free. Just knowing what to do, how to examine, and then if there's anything suspicious, don't leave it.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing women are very good at, you
Yep.
know. There's so many things they're dealing with
Yep.
that they might feel a lump and say, I'll go next month, the following month, and you know, that time is precious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you run some tests at that time, or is just information?
No, just information.
Just information.
Just information
Right.
at schools. And also, you know, there are kids whose parents are going through cancer,
Right.
or their uncle's going, grandfather.
Right.
So I think when kids know a bit more and
Yep.
know that it's not a death sentence, it also helps.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, right. And also on the men, I think the question of prostate is one of the leading ones amongst men.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about that as well, and interventions you're making?
Yeah, so for prostate, you know, most prostate cancers are quite slow growing.
Right.
So it's not as bad as something like leukemia, for example,
Right.
where, you know, it's fast growing within a few years. If you haven't done something about it, your outcome won't be very good. So prostate, it's good to be aware because, and do the regular tests. But yeah, generally I think it isn't that aggressive.
Right.
Yeah, but for cervical cancer, I think is where we can really make changes.
Yep.
So if you look at Kenya, I think 12% of our cancers are cervical cancer.
12%.
12%
Right.
or more,
Yep.
a little bit more.
Yep.
In the UK, it's less than 1%. Why?
What accounts for the difference?
Yeah, so, you know, cervical cancer is starts from an infection,
Right.
HPV,
Right.
yeah, the HPV virus.
Right.
If you can treat the HPV virus, it's not going to become cervical cancer.
Right.
And then also there's the immunization. In the UK, they're now giving vaccines to girls at school, and usually those vaccines are given before they are sexually active. So they do them at the age of 11 or 12. And I think if the girls here could be vaccinated as well, we'll be able to eliminate cervical cancer, and that's 12% of the cancers. So that's a big number.
How can we make that a reality? How do we
Yes.
make that a reality?
So the government has been encouraging, they brought in vaccines for girls, but there has been a bit of opposition. You know, the church are saying, some of the churches are saying, not a good thing, you know, it's going to affect your fertility and all those sort of things, which I think it's proven that it doesn't. So yeah, I think there are some groups of people, like there's Women for Cancer,
Yep.
who are active in that field. So we allow them to carry on and do what they're doing, and
Yeah.
we then try and concentrate on the stuff that we feel we should be concentrating on. But there are groups of women who are quite active in that area.
But you know, sometimes when we propagate some of those myths, there are people who've been getting the vaccine for years in different geographies, and we know the jurisdictional outcomes of some of those things. Are those fallacies? Is it true that they become their fertility positions become challenged as a result?
No, I think there is enough evidence to suggest that it doesn't.
So then, shouldn't we then be elevating these conversations and saying, women, forget about fact from fiction.
Yeah.
Here is the facts. We have facts, and we are able then to, because then 12%, if we saved 12% of our women
Yeah.
and girls, it's a massive leap in the fight against cancer.
Exactly. And then cervical cancer generally is women at a young age.
Right.
So the cases we see are usually between 25 and 45.
Yep.
So that's a very, young age.
It's a productive age of our country.
Productive age.
Absolutely.
They have young kids,
Right.
so there are people depending on them. So
Yep.
it's that age group that we really need to try and help.
Well, I hope we can have that conversation and really, I would love to see my daughters vaccinated against it, and my daughter's friends and everyone. And we wage war against this monster.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So there are some that are definitely preventable, and cervical cancer is one
One
of
of
them.
those.
Yeah.
Through vaccination.
Through vaccination and dealing with infections before they become cervical cancer. Yeah, so.
Wow.
But I think it's
yep.
girls and boys who need to know about it.
Yep.
Because obviously the boys need to understand that there is an infection, there's a virus, and it affects women in terms of the cancer.
And I think the country is already discussing COVID vaccinations, and so I think we're in the right time and space just to discuss the question of vaccination, and probably also make the cervical cancer vaccine a debate we must all have.
Exactly.
And encourage and try and make it available to all our girls, man. 12% is a significant portion of our population.
And this year more people have died of cancer than of COVID, so it's real, it's there, and it's going to increase. Everything that you read suggests that in the developing countries the incidence of cancer is going to increase. So we're saying over 40,000 in Kenya, but it's much more because most people don't make it to a hospital.
Right.
So our numbers are much, much higher than 40,000.
So the 40,000 is what is documented?
Yeah, exactly.
Accounted for.
And the two registries they rely on are the one in Nairobi and one in Eldoret.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
and then extrapolate the information. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
12% out of that means that then maybe more than 5,000 of those lives would have been prevented from having it.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, mortality has also been pretty high, and therefore it means that then we can actually save lives if we made this. Is there any other vaccinatable cancer besides cervical?
I think it's just cervical at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just cervical.
All right.
Yeah, but also, I wish some of this insurance money that goes into treatment of cancer can go into early detection and prevention.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, insurance companies dish out a lot of money, including NHIF, when you've been diagnosed and when you're being treated, but there's no money available for screening or for, early detection.
Yeah, prevention will always be better than trying to cure.
Exactly, and cheaper.
Absolutely,
in the long
and
run.
cheaper.
Yeah.
So it actually makes sense for us then to invest in early detection, prevention, and all of that, rather than jump into curative.
Yeah, for sure.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But Faraja also supports cancer patients who are not able to raise money and funds their treatment. Is that correct?
That is,
You want
yes.
to say a bit more about that?
So when we started, as a group of trustees who are involved with Faraja, we didn't really go into that area because we wanted to concentrate on this holistic side, saying medical somebody else will take care of. We do all the non-medical stuff. But we soon realized that in those days, NHIF didn't pay for cancer treatment. So we soon realized that you can give somebody a massage when they come here to relieve stress, for example.
Yeah.
But if at the end of the day don't have money for the chemotherapy, which is tomorrow, you're not going to remove the stress, or you're not going to help with the stress so much. So we decided that we would start a medical fund. So 4 or 5 years ago, we set ourselves a target of 100 million shillings. We said if we raise 100 million, we can use the income of the fund. So it's like an endowment fund to support patients for treatment. Since we started, NHIF have come in to support, but they don't fully support. So our target initially was to support 50 patients a year, but we've actually ended up doing more than 100 a year.
Wow.
So far we've supported about more than 400 patients at a cost of about 40 million shillings. And we have a criteria. Some people don't like it that we have a criteria, but we feel that to make the best use of our funds.
Absolutely.
So our criteria will include things like a young mother, good prognosis, young children, dependence on her. You know, sometimes the parents are also dependent. So those are some of the things we look at,
Right.
so that our money that we use can give us the best outcome.
Absolutely.
So a mother, who has a 10-year-old,
Yep.
has another 5 years even.
Right.
The 10-year-old is now 15 years.
Right.
So a bit better equipped to look after himself or herself.
Right.
So we do that, yeah. And we have a panel,
Yep.
which includes people from outside Faraja, including some medical people,
Right.
who help us assess the applications, which we do every month.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
And
So-
out of the people we've supported, about, I think, over 100 are children. So there are a lot of kids, you know, leukemia. The common cancers in kids are leukemia, eye cancer, kidney, and a lot of kids somehow in the western side, so Eldoret, end up with kidney cancers, which are very curable if you do the treatment at the right time. Yeah, so we've supported quite a few there as well at MTRH.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And with good outcomes.
Very good outcomes,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, and to mention Eldoret, we also have a center in Eldoret
Yep.
within the Moy Teaching and Referral Hospital. We would
Right.
like to expand there, because
Yep.
a lot of patients are now going to Eldoret because
Right.
they do radiotherapy there as well.
Right.
And sometimes the waiting time and accommodation and all that is easier in Eldoret than it is in Nairobi.
Right.
Yeah.
So at least in the two largest referral hospitals, you have presence there.
Yeah.
Where else do you have presence, and what would you look at in terms of the?
Yeah, we would really like to have presence at Kenyatta. We're still trying. It's a struggle, because I think we need to be really close to where the cancer patients are, and most cancer patients end up at Kenyatta, Kenyatta National Hospital.
So you don't have a physical presence there?
No, we don't.
You
We come and go, yeah.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we have, and then now Kenyatta University, you'll have seen from the press last week, have
Yeah.
also got a fully fledged
Cancer.
cancer center.
Right.
So yeah, we would love to be there, and we will be engaging with them to see if we can have a presence there.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
so
love
those
the
are
hearts
the
to
three.
be there. You want to be there and be of support, man. I hope that the administrations of those institutions
Yeah,
can make
because
a way.
I know from my experience that there's so much going on in your life at that time. So
Yep.
if somebody from Kenyatta National Hospital is told to come to Parklands,
Yep.
that's too much effort.
Right.
They won't come to Faraja. But if we were there and they said, you know, down the corridor, you
Yep.
can go and get help,
Yep.
they will come.
Yep.
So we really need to be located. And so far we are in two places, because that's where the fully fledged cancer treatment centers are. So
Yep.
if something starts in the coast
Yep.
or central Kenya, we will go there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
our model, that,
Right.
you know, wherever there's treatment centers, we want to be close to them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. You talked earlier about some of the people that you work with volunteer to come, for example, the nutritionist and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know who else volunteers, but part of the question is to ask, if I felt that I connect with the Faraja vision and I have something to offer and I would want to volunteer and offer of myself, how do you go about this?
So yeah, so our volunteers actually are our pillar, so whether it's therapists or other types of volunteers. We have a staff of about 6 here, 1 in Eldoret. But then we have a group of about 50 or 60 volunteers who are helping us with various things. So for example, 2 weekends ago, we had a whitewater rafting event in Sagana. There were 6 or 7 volunteers there with us to help us. So our volunteers are of 2 types. There's one that is a therapist. So they have some particular skill, whether it's a yoga teacher or whether it's a counselor, nutritionist, etc. And then the other type of volunteers are the ones who are here talking to patients. Some of them are survivors, because we feel survivors are know what they've gone through.
Having gone through it
Yeah,
themselves.
having gone through it themselves.
Right.
But others are universities, so students who are on internship
Yep.
and come and work here for 6 months, so
Yep.
whether it's from Daystar, Kenyatta University,
Yep.
Nairobi University, etc.
Yep.
Our program at Kenyatta Art and Craft is solely volunteers with 1 or 2 people from Faraja.
Tell us about
involved.
that art and craft. I mean, sounds interesting. What's that?
Yeah, so on a Wednesday, there's a band
Yep.
that we partner with, and they go and do music and games, music therapy with the kids in one of the
Kenyatta.
wards, at Kenyatta.
Right.
And that's what they were doing before COVID. We're just about to start again.
Yep.
And then on a Friday, we go and do art and craft. Now with kids, you know, some of them are not able to actually verbalize what they're feeling, but
Yep.
they can draw.
Yep.
And then sometimes I learned this when I went to the UK, that when you've actually drawn something,
Yep.
you've now externalized it.
Yep.
So we try and do that kind of therapeutic art with them,
Yep.
because it's easier to deal with something that's now no longer inside you, but it's there, a picture
Right.
of you with your cancer.
Right.
So we try and do therapeutic art and craft with them. And when we go, we take, we have a number of fruit shops who give us apples and milk, and so we go with that with them. And we've also started that program now at Moy Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret. Yeah,
Wow.
so that's what we do at Kenyatta.
So if any of those wanted to offer their services on a voluntary basis, they just get in touch with Faraja.
Yeah. And they get in touch with us.
Yeah.
We just make sure that the motivation is the right
correct.
motivation.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Sometimes a patient who's just recovered might be too soon for them to come and start talking to patients.
Yep.
Yeah. So and then yeah. So I think what we've created is actually a platform.
Yep.
Because when we started 11 years ago now,
Yep.
there were people who were just walking in. Is there anything I can do to help? You
Yep.
know, what can I do? And sometimes it might be bookkeeping.
Yep.
It might be event organizing.
Yep.
So it's a whole range of stuff that
Yep.
people can help us do.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, fundraising in particular. So, you know, when we have our events, it's just good to have people who are there to help support.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I know about Kenyans is that they are beautiful at heart, and they will be happy to offer of their talent. They will be happy to offer of their giftings. And I'm sure a lot of them will come through and just say, man, I can offer this and I can offer that. And we invite you folks, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you keep asking what difference can I make? There goes an opportunity to just make a difference. You would be in the art space, man. It is required. It makes a difference. Probably you're a nutritionist and asking, how can I offer my services? There you go, man. Faraja needs you, and the whole community that is within this space definitely does need you. Reach out to Faraja, and you never know, man. You have an opportunity to make a difference. And this is a great platform, man. Just connect with Faraja, and you never know whose life you may end up touching. I'm just curious, as we almost bring this to a close, how do you raise the funds just to do all these amazing things? When you talk about you've covered bills for about 400 of them, and you have a whole center that you're running here, a couple of guys on full-time basis just running this. How do you keep all of these things going?
Okay, so there are a lot of well-wishers
Yep.
who just come and give us money.
Yep.
But that wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
So Cindy, who's our fundraising manager,
Right.
we have two big events that we do. So the Kenya's biggest coffee morning that I talked about.
Right.
When we go to companies, we kind of go there, but if they want to give us a contribution,
Yep.
they do. The
Yep.
staff sometimes raise money.
Yep.
So that was one of them. And then the other one is the fun event at Sagana that we do every
The
year.
water rafting.
The white water rafting,
Right.
yeah. So people will pay a certain amount to register.
Yep.
It's more than what we would pay Savage for
Yep.
organizing it for us.
Right.
So we make money on that.
Yep.
And then the teams also raise money.
Right.
And we make it quite competitive so that the team that's raised the most amount of money can choose the guide that they have. We get hospitality partners to give us vouchers. So Great Rift Valley Lodge, for example, are a big supporter. This year they gave us prizes. So the team that raised the most will go and enjoy one night at Rift Valley Lodge. So we do kind of those sort of fun events. But in COVID period, what has been amazing is the support we've had from so many people who've gone through something like this. So there's a lady called Esther who lost her son to leukemia. She just done a run and she's been collecting money for us. Then there's Rachel Gitonga who
Yep.
donated a birthday at the beginning of the year, 40 at 40.
Right.
And has been encouraging her friends, including I think your wife,
Yes, my friend. Yes, absolutely.
to run and
Yes.
to raise money.
Yep.
And I really love that because we're engaging now with a group of people who are young.
Yep.
And I just feel that, you know, if you do things when you are younger,
Yep.
you're more effective. And also, you know, it helps us raise awareness.
Yep.
So money is one side of it, but when I go to the group that are running, I'm really so humbled to
Yep.
see that there are 100 of them running,
Right.
and now 100 more people will know about Faraja.
Correct.
Because
Correct.
very often we get people who come to Faraja and will tell us, oh, we knew you existed earlier,
Yep.
because we would have accessed your services earlier. So
Right.
this really gives us a chance to, yeah.
Right.
And then there's a young girl, 8-year-old in the UK, who was making bath bombs and selling them, has been selling them for the last year. So she's raising money for us. So, you know, there are people who do concerts and various other things. So
Yep.
there's a lot of goodwill because, you know, cancer affects all of us.
Absolutely.
It's not about age, it's not about race, it's not about your social economic
Correct,
status,
correct,
you know, so
correct.
everyone is touched in some way.
Yeah. And I just looked at your profile, and even from a structure perspective, you have such a solid board of trustees, and therefore even from an accountability and all of that stuff, it's not one of the concerns anyone out there would actually have.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I would like to feel that that's so.
Yeah.
We have a very solid group of trustees, very supportive.
Yeah.
We also can tell you we are very credible.
Right.
Every shilling that comes to us is spent very wisely.
Correct.
So yeah, and we have good structures, and we have amazing staff.
Yep.
Everyone who works at Faraja is very, very passionate about the cause, and I think unless you are passionate about the cause,
Yep.
You don't give it your best.
Right.
So
right.
we have an amazing group of staff as well. Yeah, we are
Prior to
blessed.
coming here, I met with a friend of mine called Sailesh Savani. Very passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And certainly happy to identify with the cause as well.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
look forward to his concert, which
Right.
he wants to do to help us raise money.
Concert coming up, man.
Yeah.
We might as well commit him on this show, man, so that the concert gets to go.
Yes.
Absolutely. You know, when I think about what you're doing, I almost imagine how dark a moment can be when you're told you're a cancer patient. And the fact that you go all the way out just to make it manageable, bearable, and give hope, I don't think there will be anything greater that one can do than to put smiles in the hearts of many people. And just to know that then you open this center, both for cancer patients as well as caregivers. I think that's pretty profound, man. And especially caregivers who probably don't even know what to do with their kin that are in that position. But you give them guidance. How is that coming as we bring this show to a close?
Yeah, so caregivers go through a really tough time,
Yep.
very often more so than the patient.
Yep.
Because unless the patient's communicating well, you know, the caregiver is just guessing. The caregiver is cooking for the patient, doesn't really know what to cook. So we do an amazing series with the help of an oncology nurse from Canada and then a doctor from here. It's a 8-week series where every week they pick up a topic that's relevant to caregivers. So it's nutrition, it's side effects of treatment, and you know, various other things. And try and get caregivers together as a group so that they can talk to each other as well about what they're going through. Because it is tough as a caregiver, very tough, yeah. And so often, we have women who've had breast cancer or cervical, and the husband's gone as soon as, she's been diagnosed.
Oh, no.
So then you are left with your mother caring for you or your daughter caring for you. Yeah, so I think people also just need to understand that if you've supported somebody all along, the time they need your support most
you got to be
is when
there.
you're going through, and that will affect the prognosis.
Right.
Good support means good outcomes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we just run away because we don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
And how to go about it.
That's so true. You know, like when I was going through my journey, some friends weren't in touch as normally as they used to be.
Yep.
And then later on I realized it's not because they didn't want to, they didn't know what to do.
They just don't even know what to say to you.
So I tell cancer patients
Yeah.
that, please ask your friends if you want a meal, just tell them, can
Right.
you cook something and bring it for me?
Right.
Because everyone around you wants to help, but like you say, they don't know what to do.
They don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, you've planted a tree whose shade is not too much about you, but it's about others.
Yeah.
And I think we want to celebrate you on the Goldmine show and just say the world becomes a better place because of people like you.
Thank you.
Having the kind of heart that you have is just priceless. Because this is not about you. You overcame it,
Yeah.
and you just want to make it a whole lot more bearable for many other people. And today, man, we celebrate you.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
we so honor the great work you're doing.
Thank you. But
Yeah.
just to add, I
Yeah.
created a platform, but there are hundreds of other people that deserve that thank you.
And to that whole community, we say we salute them.
Thank you.
And we absolutely, and maybe for a lot of them, all they needed was a platform to be built so that then the many other forms of support
Exactly.
can then come through.
Yeah.
But without then the foundation and the platform, and there was no place to channel that support.
Yeah.
Because I know there are many people out there who would want to support, but they don't know who to work with. And that platform and which platform is credible and all of that stuff. And so for having done this diligently for the last how many years again?
11.
Wow.
Yeah.
We salute you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We salute you and
Dennis.
want to wish you the very best at Faraja. You make us proud, and more than anything else, you bring hope and you make it bearable for many other people.
Thank you so much.
And well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah,
Well
thank
done.
you for hosting me on this show.
Our pleasure. Our honor, man. Yeah. Folks, man, I hope it has inspired you just to know that this challenge is not a death sentence. And we've got beautiful hearts out here who just want to say, we want to make it bearable. We want to make it manageable. We want to hold your hand through this process. And we are truly grateful that Faraja could do what Faraja is doing, man. And we just want to ask you, man, just as she has planted a tree whose shade is not about her, I want to ask you and challenge you, man. How many other trees are you planting? How many other people will enjoy the shelters of the trees that you are planting? We can make this a much better world, going the Faraja way and doing stuff that becomes of impact to way many more people out there. And why do we want to do this? Because we have gold mines in each and every single one of us, and to protect it, to preserve it, and to make it the greatest it must be, we've got to do what we can do. Light your candle where you can. Plant the tree where you can. But more than anything else, make sure that your life also does impact someone else. And to all of us dealing with cancer one way or another, I want to let you know that there is hope. And Faraja is more than happy to serve you. To all of you who can offer a service or two to make it bearable for the many other cancer patients, well, the doors in Faraja are open. Come and offer your support, come and offer your service, and you never know in whose life you can make a difference. As the good doctor said, you never know, man. It is not a respecter of age, creed, or color. It could be today someone else, and you never know when you may need this help. So plant the seed of just being an answer to someone else, man. On this Cancer Month, we want to salute all of you that are battling this challenge, and we want you to know that we stand with you, and indeed there is help available, and you too are gold mines, overcoming it every day and doing what we must to see you supported. Until next time, God bless you, inviting you again to follow us on the Goldmine Show on Facebook, on YouTube, as well as on Instagram. And let's continue building a great goldmine community that extends possibility and inspires life to others. Until next time, God bless you and keep becoming the greatness that you truly are.